Welcome to Friday. Yes, it's that day once again. Now, we're going to continue with something. We actually had a slightly different program planned, and we're going to do that later due to a conflict that arose. But I still wanted to stick to the topic, which is the wonderful book, Wild Spectacle. Seeking Wonders in a World Beyond Humans. It's by Janisse Ray, and she is the author of Ecology of a Cracker Childhood, which is an award-winning book. Now, Janisse Ray is a fascinating individual. She has comments on life. She's had a lot of life experiences, but she ties everything into the world of nature and living, growing things and observations, and gives us a sense of the whole of the planet in the individual experience we have day to day. She will be with us probably in another couple months, but just to give you an idea of just what you can expect, I'm going to read a limited few selections from her book. This particular chapter is called Spider Women. It's spectacles invisible to the eye. St. Peter's Episcopal Churchyard in Oxford, Mississippi. What place is more bereft of life than a cemetery, filled with the dead as it is, paved with stones and planted in turf? So I thought until one early morning evening in the churchyard of St. Peter's Episcopal in Mississippi. I stood looking into a bowl of St. Peter's Cemetery. Below, a small grove of ancient cedars grew in a circle, druidic and consolatory. In the salmon-colored sky, thunderheads were building, lightning not far off. In the next 2 hours, I would see the sun go down, dusk fall, and the graveyard fill with fireflies. Their blinking lights would overflow the bowl like sparkling cream spilling over. That was not the amazement. No, I would see among the slabs and headstones planets of spiders, living spectacularly complicated and richly inconceivable lives. Two arachnologists would open my eyes to a spider underworld. Pat Miller and Gail Stratton both taught and conducted research. Pat at Northwest Mississippi Community College and Gail at the University of Mississippi. Now Pat, a slight woman with straight dark hair bobbed short, is a native Oxonian. She went away, like kids do. What motivated her to return were spider range maps that showed no dots in Mississippi, although she knew Mississippi was full of spiders. Pat decided she was going to list all the spider species of Mississippi. Gail, slight and dark-haired but with curls, is as crazy about spiders as Pat. She wants to learn everything she can about them. So far, Gail has described 2 new species, both of them wolf spiders. One of them, found 8 miles from this cemetery, collected one dark night in a forest leaf litter and named Ötzi after Dr. George W. Ötz, her arachnologist mentor and friend. Somewhere along the way, the 2 arachnologists fell in love. The beautiful web of spider love, merging their dreams and goals and plans. Every time I've seen them, they've been together, conjoined and seemingly inseparable, and of a piece, partners, vocationally and avocationally. They are so close. They seem to move and speak and think as one. And I think of them that way, as one. I made the same mistake with spiders. Every spider is just a spider. But no, there are minuscule variations in spider species, differentiated by such things as tibial bristles in the front a pair of legs, or length of the tiny carapace. Now, getting to know spiders requires careful, years-long investigation, an enterprise I don't have the passion for, although I do lust to know some of what the spider women know. Gail and Pat are very different people, of course. One is quiet until she's talking spiders. Oh, then she babbles. One enjoys small talk. One smiles more than the other, who also smiles a lot. One may be a few years older. I'm not sure. One has straighter hair than the other, as I've said. One has more delicate skin. One has darker eyes. As a reporter, I should be writing down who said what. Mostly, I don't. If one says something, I think both of them saying it. One finishes the other's sentences. The other adds a phrase, completes a thought, makes a little hum of agreement. I expect that what we're going to wait for darkness to shine flashlights around the grave markers, looking for the red pinpricks of reflection that indicate spiders. Oh, no, I've done this before. Gone out at night with some scout or other to look for orb weavers in dewy grasses. But we're not doing this. Few spider families have eye shine. Now, the spider women tell me, meaning that light does not bounce off their tapetums. That's the layer of reflective cells at the backs of their eyes. So, the spider women set off wandering through the graves, scanning for tiny movements and other patterns I don't see. They say you need to develop a search image, which you hold in your mind, and that image helps you to see and recognize a particular shape. I don't really understand this. Are they looking for moving dots? Sort of, they say. We just know what we're looking for. Well, I know what I'm looking for, too. I'm looking not to have a spider crawl up my breeches. I tailed the arachnologists, asking too many questions. Patient and painstaking, they stop and answer each question as best they can. How clunkily a neophyte enters a world whose immensity she has not yet realized. Are we looking for really tiny dots? Sure, says one of the women. How small? I ask. There are spiders so bitty they can get stuck in a droplet of water and drown, says one of them. I think Gail. My mind makes that leap into empathy. Something so tiny it drowns in a drop of rain. The world seems so cruel, even when we're talking about spiders. And you look for bigger dots, says Pat. Well, how big? The women stop and turn, both of them. They are so patient that, well, I'm embarrassed. The largest spiders here in Mississippi are fishing spiders, one of them tells me. She turns to her wife. Remember the ones we found on the boardwalk at Sardis Lake? It was sitting there looking at us with huge eyes, the other says. It was intimidating, says the first one. My mind leaps again and goes sailing off to a boardwalk at Sardis Lake, where a spider the size of a raccoon is looking up at me. How big is a fishing spider? I ask. Oh, they can stretch out to 3 inches, she says. I decide to stay quiet a while so the women can do whatever they're supposed to be doing here. The darkness is coming fast, and the thunderstorm is closer. One of the women spots a spider, then another, then another. The other spots a spider, then another, then another. They want to show them to me, and look, I want to see them. They murmur multisyllabic Latinate names, followed by an observation or two, and most of this skyrockets off into the fireflies above my head. The spider women have eyes for spiders. They could find them all night, and the night would become a list. I realize the endlessness of this exercise. With 550 species of spiders identified so far in Mississippi, and about 49,500 named in the world, according to the World Spider Catalog. Closer to 170,000 are believed to exist. Tonight, we're looking for a certain rare schizocosa, a type of wolf spider, which they've found 3 times before. Now, wolf spiders are common in many habitats throughout North America. They have a stout body shape. Their 8 legs are fairly even lengthwise, and their 8 eyes, which you may need a hand lens to see, are arranged so they can see above and behind themselves. Now, most wolf spiders don't build webs. Instead, they burrow in the ground or hide in leaf litter. They found the schizocosa in this cemetery. They found it one Mother's Day while cleaning Pat's mother's grave. My mom is buried here, Pat says. Over there. We'd just like to find it again, says Gail. They keep looking, murmuring quietly. Here's a this, here's a that. Have you ever seen such and such? Well, here's a pair mating. This is what a burrow looks like. That's a pretty big burrow. Their flashlights make little streaks of light, while in the sky the lightning has started to make big streaks. I ask them what all reporters ask their subjects. Why? Why do you wander around weird places at night with flashlights looking for freaky things? Gail looks at Pat, who's quiet. Gail aims her light at the ground. What motivates me is how fascinating, how amazingly complex spiders are, she says. It's humbling. She talks about spiders being able to learn. Now, female was exposed to male spiders with dark legs, and after 3 weeks, she preferred dark-legged spiders, although unexposed females preferred light-legged ones. Yep, I think. She goes on. Did you know spiders have a song and a dance? Well, I didn't know this, and I don't think I want to know. The more I find out, the harder it's going to be to smash one of these little babies when it builds its web above my bathtub. I still haven't recovered from the raindrop image. Yes, it's true, Pat says. We're recording them. The spider women are recording spiders singing and dancing. Oh, this seems especially zany. We are in Mississippi, home of the blues, where music is fundamental, where at the Thacker Mountain radio show, I've heard jug bands, gospel choirs, blues singers, harmonica, desperados, guitar geniuses. My limited imagination does not allow me to fathom how a tiny spider song, out of range of the naked ear, or a tiny spider dance, invisible to the eye, could be captured on tape. Their sound is both airborne and seismatic, Gale, I think, says. Their world is a vibration world. Spiders hear through something called a slit sense organ in their legs, which is a kind of strain gauge. Well, how do you record it, I ask. 3 ways, Gale says. One is a phonograph needle through an amplifier, which picks up sound on a substrate, whatever that means. Another is a sound box with a microphone in the bottom. Or, if your lab has lots of money, there's something called a laser vibrometer. I'm on a science expedition to a local landmark, a cemetery in Oxford, Mississippi. As night falls and a storm bears down, listening to spider women talk about spiders singing and dancing. Why do they do it? I ask. Oh, courtship ritual, says Gale. A male dances in front of a female. If the female's feeling receptive, she'll respond by slow walking, stopping, turning, then settling down. The male approaches carefully so as not to be eaten, Pat says. The male dances in various ways to produce different sounds. They make intricate moves, flutters, double waves, leg taps. Sometimes they smash their abdomens against the ground, which records as a boom. There's an order to the dancing, Pat says. Gale continues. They also have a scraper and file, like a little washboard. The arachnologist couple was filming spiders when they kept hearing somebody outside the building trying to start a motorcycle. Oh, they shot exasperated looks at each other They had posted signs that they would be doing high-level recordings, asking for people to be quiet. "Ah, how rude can that person be?" one said. "Don't they know we're filming? I wish they would get that thing cranked up and go on." The motorcycle went on and on. Finally, one of them realized the sound was coming from the spider, an undescribed species they'd found in the Homachito National Forest in southern Mississippi. They joked about naming it Schizocosa Harley-Davisonia. Now, it's finally dark and we're hearing thunder. Lightning is closer, flashing in the sky behind the lightning bugs. "Maybe we should go," one says. "Well, you've ruined it for me," I say. Both women laugh. "Well, how so?" says Pat. "I'm not sure I need to know about all this. I'll never be able to look at a cemetery the same way." They laugh again. "Well, it's not just cemeteries," they say. "It's everywhere." "Exactly," I say. "Inside this world, invisible except in moments, spiders by the million live their lives in nooks, crannies, niches and cracks, their world like a spirit world, but not. Their world is a real world, a universe inside the multiverse." Two women in a Mississippi cemetery shine tiny lights into that big, dark world. One evening, they showed it to me. On the way out, the raindrops were like cold, fat stars falling on my face. Postscript. After 40 years of studying spiders, Pat and Gail have both retired. Gail has become a Unitarian Universalist minister. When Pat retired, she took a mycology class and has now built a mycological collection at the University of Mississippi with over 2,000 specimens that are measured, photographed, spore printed, and catalogued on a searchable database. She and Gail go out a few times a week looking for mushrooms and are again amazed at the diversity. Pat wrote me recently. Our hair is gray now, and I turn 70 this year. It's not so easy to stoop over to look at spiders, and our eyesight is not what it used to be. I have as much passion for mushrooms as I had for spiders. Plus, they are easier to study. We are still inseparable, and being in the woods has kept us sane through this pandemic. Gail added, "We were saying just today how great it is that we love to do the same things." Oh my. I think that's a recipe for a life well lived, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a nearly half hour about spiders. And I've got to tell you, there are other stories, and I will share some of those at another time, probably right before Janisse comes to the show, because there are others I really wanted to show and share with you. But I would be remiss, because we're talking about spiders. Well, that means I need to mention the most magical children's book. Of course, I mean Charlotte's Web, and that entails the life of a spider. I must tell you, when I was teaching fourth grade, I read that to my children as a reward. If they'd been particularly good and paid attention that day, we'd do a chapter. And I remember when I got to the last couple of chapters, the children practically were ready to riot because I was going to stop reading and save the end for another day. Well, lo and behold, you'll never guess what happened. They sat rapt. The bell rang. School was out. The children wouldn't move. Headmaster was at the close of my door, which had been firmly shut, and there I stood reading. And all of a sudden, a room full of children started crying in unison. The door opened, and the parents wondered what on earth had been going on in that classroom, because there were all these teary-eyed children, and that was all because of Charlotte's Web, which really is the reason that I chose to read to you this story from Janisse Ray and Wild Spectacle, Seeking Wonders in a World Beyond Humans. Why, I just so much wanted to share this story with you. We'll have another adventure next Friday. Till then, take care. Have a beauteous, spider-filled weekend.